My name is Phyllis Chelsea. I'm from Alkali Lake, and I'm an elder of the reserve, and I am a retired language teacher. I still do language teaching by contract today to adults and students. The majority of my life I have been a language teacher and a high school counselor in the school district 27 of Williams Lake. And I've taught language to teenagers and to young people and to elders since I learned how to do language teaching since 1972 when I sobered up. I've always felt that things were wrong in 1492 when you people came, because our lifestyle and the way that you lived and the way that you taught and how you wanted us to be was totally against how we were raised and how we were as people. Values were changed, and we were put on places called reserves, where we had grown up out in our meadows, out in the land, and never saw one another maybe once, twice a year, until the church came here, and this was like a gathering place where we had to come to church every Sunday under the direction of the church and Indian Affairs. Well, they've been going to hell since then and getting worse, because as you're here, you are also destroying who we are as people, our resources, and there isn't a plan to what you do except to take the money off our land, our resources, and to change us as people to be like you, where we put money as our top value. And our thinking, especially for the younger folk, is on how to live and get money. It is no longer the concern for the land, no longer the concern of the language and the culture. There isn't the real, true reconciliation that needs to happen, which is to work with us and to have us working with you. You come with a domineering attitude to own and to sell and to put us in little institutions so that you could take what is rightfully ours, because we've always been here. I think first we need to talk about that, the truth of how it all is, how it's been, how it was, and the benefits of how it was. And acknowledge the fact that today values are different for our young people, and that a lot of the true leadership of elders no longer is there, because you have come with a better way to take control and to own what is ours. And it's doing that all over the world, not just here. It's happening all over the world because you come from making money from what is Mother Earth. I think we need to come dealing with us as equals, because there's also the domineering way that you have, because you're white and you're more educated and you come with lots of money, that you know better and you overtake. That attitude needs to change to where you accept us and see us as equals, that we are the owners of our land, and that we've always ruled our land and our world before you came. But you came with your laws and your social status and the ways of the Queen, I guess, to change us. And the main part was to put us on reserves. And in doing that, then there's the rules of having a chief and council, because we didn't have that. And ways that we had to go to school at the Catholic school and learn your ways for 12 years, that our values changed, that some of us came back here no longer honoring the elders, no longer respecting them, and no longer caring about the land. And that total way of thinking changed us to where we are today. I grew up at my meadow, number 10, Eastwood. At the age of 7, I was taken to the residential school by them. And then other years, my mom and dad brought me there in a wagon. And I didn't know English. But my first words that I learned was, "Who made you? God made me. Who is God? God is everywhere." That was my first English, other than hello and goodbye. So from there, as we were punished for speaking our language, we had to learn from one another and from the nuns the English language. And if we spoke our language, then we were punished. And punishment was kneeling in the corner, going without supper for a week, and many other ways that they found to take away our togetherness there as children. Mm-hmm. I went over there for 10 years. And then I went to Prince George for 2 years. Prince George to finish high school. And then I came back here and went to college in Williams Lake. And then I was a social worker at that point. And I've taken training to be a social worker and a teacher and other professional things to work here. Mm-hmm. Well, I went to school at the mission and knew Andy because we were in the same class, Andy, Chelsea, and I. And up until 15, I just knew this guy. His name is Andy Chelsea, and he's a troublesome guy. Troublesome guy in the classroom with my brother. Always in trouble, but that was their thing. I took my schooling serious. I was always top of my class. And they finished school, got kicked out, but I stayed on there and then went to high school and took on a job and have worked since. Mm-hmm. At 15, I knew Andy, and we hung around together as in the class and at the mission and that. And then 17, there was a band called Esk'etemc came here, which was a concert. And I knew Andy was there, but I wasn't looking for Andy, and he wasn't anybody special in my world. He was just Andy Chelsea, and a friend of my brother Gordy. But he started to talk to me, and I started to talk to him. And we were kind of like the same sort of people, quiet, didn't really like to mingle with everybody, just talking, laughing about stuff, and we shared kind of like the same demeanor about stuff. And so there was a concert going on, and he says, "Do you want to be here?" I said, "No, I don't want to be here." He says, "Let's go for a walk." So we went for a walk. It was about 8 o'clock in the evening, summertime. So we went for a walk out in the field, and we're talking about what we thought about what was going on, what else was going on in our lives and our families. And I got to know him in a different way. But to me, he was just this guy, Andy Chelsea. He wasn't anything special in my world. And nothing happened until he held my hand that one day we were going for a walk. And I thought, this here is not where I want it to be. Because I had a plan that I wanted to go to Vancouver and study to be a nurse and get away from Alkali Lake. That was my plan. And I had told that to Andy. That's what I wanted to do. But he kept coming. Every day he'd come to my house. And we'd go for a walk and we'd talk about our thoughts and just how we saw Esk'et and what he was doing with his family and what we were doing. And then it became serious when he wanted to hold hands. Well, it went that way, and we got married and had 5 kids, and here we were. Now we have, I think, 12 grandchildren. But all in all, Annie and I raised, I think I was counting about 25, 30 other kids that came to my house, stayed with us a year, 1 week or whatever. Kids that didn't have anywhere to be. So Andy and I have a big family out there. And I'm still in touch with them today. We're friends. And that's how my life has been, just reaching out to people and helping if I needed to help somebody with whatever they were going, because I was a court worker. So I met and helped a lot of people there. I was a teacher in the high school and worked with the kids and their parents eventually. If I needed to get in touch with the parents, I did. But my primary focus was to be with the students. That's whose worlds I wanted to be part of, and I wanted them to work with me and to focus on real working life rather than just going home and getting drunk and doing whatever. So my focus was to pull the set of young people. Today they're lawyers and teachers and doctors and stuff. Those kids that I first started working with, and today we're still in touch and we're friends. Mm-hmm. As Andy became chief and I saw how the community was, when I came to be here with Andy from working at the sawmill for 12 years, that there was a lot of drinking, there was a lot of deaths that happened here, and stabbings and people hurting and killing one another. And I didn't appreciate that. And I needed to show the kids that it doesn't need to be like that, and that I needed them to be safe, so they spent a lot of time at my home. And they were always welcome. In working with them, then I also got to talk with the parents at some point or other. Not to preach at them, but to just see how they're doing, what are their needs. And when you work like that with people, then they'll come in and they'll want to talk and will change what they want to change. But I've never been a person to say, this is what you got to do. I've never worked like that. And I worked with the parents of the kids that I worked with to have them be in a better way regarding their kids. It never was, I'm going to change you and you damn well sober up. I've never come from that. It's always been reaching out, showing them that it's okay to be sober. And hopefully they follow that and sober up. And by then I knew where all treatment centers were. The conversation came up that option is there, then they went. Mm-hmm. There was about 120 kids in and out of my house, in and out of my life. I saw them at home, I saw them at school. They slept on my floor. They ate at my house if they had nothing at home. And my focus was on them to be alive for the day, to make sure that they're not getting beat up or what might be going on, and to support one another. That group learned how to care about one another. And if something was going on, then I tell them, well, you bring that person here. And they'll stay here. I'll go and see the parents sooner or later. If I needed to follow up with RCMP, I did. If they needed to go to the hospital, then I handled that. So it was just basically handling the needs of what was happening from day to day, which was a lot of violence and hate that went on here. But slowly things began to change in that way. And as Andy, being chief, had to deal with political things, and in dealing with that, definitely pulled in a lot of anger, because a lot of people didn't want change. But I worked with Andy so that there was communication, meaningful communication happening both ways, and looking at options, not saying that's what you got to do. You have to go to treatment. We never worked like that. And slowly people wanted to change, and then I ran into this guy that came here. His name was Brother Ed, who was a drug and alcohol worker. I thought it was pretty awesome that this white guy came here. He didn't drink, and he says, I could meet with people and work with people. I said, great, welcome. And slowly he went to homes. He went to people's homes to just talk and to get acquainted. And then he started to have meetings. And then people came. And people found out about who he was and what the options were. But also on the other hand, Andy was working on finding out different programs that were going on, different things that were happening to improve and bring here what was out there so that we could move on some things here rather than just being on social assistance and drunkenness. That things changed, people wanted to change. Mm-hmm. Well, I think we're doing the important thing that needs to happen, which is to talk about it, to acknowledge the change that happened, how it happened, who was involved, and what those changes meant, what things are still there, which things came back, and to look at the problem of alcoholism or no economics here, and the pointing out and always saying that something needs to change. It needs us to say it, but the leadership needs to move in a way that's going to help our community, and that is to find programs and business groups that we can work with to learn how to expand our Esk'etemc way of life. And to me, that's not happening fast enough. I want it to happen like that, but the world moves at its own pace because we still also have alcoholism and drugs now here. Still happening, but we work through that. Well, I would like to say to the council of today, and part of it is that I don't feel good that I don't even know who all our council are. I don't. And I should. But as an elder, I've pulled to where I do my own life. I'm not involved in anything except doing language programs now and again. That the band council needs to meet with the people, go to see the people at their homes, to find out what their needs are, what their wants are, and where things could move on, and in what way they can work together, and what the council needs to do, and what are their interests. That's what needs to happen. The council needs to work with us to move. I think what I would like to say to the council is that there needs to be a concerted effort on behalf of the council to reach out to the people, because to me they aren't. If we don't even know who the council are, that's not good. And we need to go back to the day where Andy and Charlene used to meet with people, pull people together, and talk about whatever needs to be said, whether it was being angry or blame or whatever, but we talk. And talk about what's going on and where we want to go and who wants to go and who wants to go to training, to college, and where are we at regarding housing and jobs. That kind of talk don't even happen here anymore. It needs to happen. Well, I know what my thoughts are, but be darned if I can find a way to make it happen, and it needs money, because my thoughts are I want to improve my meadow. That's where I lived. It's where I want to go back. I want to do fencing. I want to do cattle. I want to live up there. I don't want to be here. But I don't know how many people feel like that. That is to be explored to me, I think. But we need to realize that we have land out there that we don't use anymore. And the focus of Esk'etemc need to come together under council, with council, and for things to move ahead rather than us being a poor community here with no jobs. Mm-hmm. To me, the banks have not moved the way that to us we have moved here as people, to where we go out, we've said what we want, and we have focused on what our needs are. The folk that run the banks, they come from you drunken Indians. You just have to live on the reserve, and that's all you do is live on social assistance. That society is like that yet to us. Until that change happens and the society treat us as owners of the land and involve us in economic development of our land, then things are going to stay the way they are. All right, what I wanted to say towards the end of our conversation here is I want to speak directly to the chief and council. And when I say that, I don't even know who you all are. Even though I've elected you, I don't know who we are anymore. We aren't connected anymore here. And that needs to change. We need to work together to share ideas, to see what thoughts are regarding economic development and change and all the things that we need to discuss. We just don't do that anymore because we're coming from being too individualistic, or else we've all gotten our pension, we're happy to live on our pension. Whatever you do is your business. You know, we need to work with the younger generation. They need to work with us. And for different reasons, it's not working like that. Some are your reasons, some are my reasons. And past this interview, what I expect as an elder, as an individual, as a Esk'etemc, is to sit with the council at some point at their meeting, and if they've seen this, to go from there. What can we do as a community, past that as elders and as community members, to make it meaningful so that we're just not doing an interview and it's all going to stop and this summer here goes away with a good interview and that's it. I wanted something to come out of it for the community, for Esk'et. That's my final thing.